human magnet syndrome was what it is. The codependency cure is more of what to do. So you can go to a therapist who is the best, and I mean probably the best, but if they don't know what this codependency thing is, they're going to be helping you with something that will have no solution. And I kept getting this question, I think I'm a narcissist. Or people would contact me and they would say, I'm a narcissist. And I wouldn't understand because first of all, narcissists don't come to me and say, I think I'm a narcissist. They don't think they have a problem. It's everyone else. In fact, narcissists project their narcissism on everyone else. They see what they can't see in themselves. And so I thought, well, she's a narcissist. I mean, she's a liar, she's a cheater, she's a manipulator. And then I kind of realized, well, that doesn't make sense because she's married the narcissist. I was thinking, how could I have this theory and it doesn't fit? Then one day it hit me, there's two categories of codependents. There are passive codependents. And I know some of you guys are not old enough to remember All in the Family, but but Edith Bunker, she is the passive codependent. You know, she keeps it all inside. She tries to mollify or pacify everyone. She doesn't like to start any trouble, and that is the passive codependent. Passive, they play the martyr role, they're the salt of the earth. That's my Grandpa Chuck. Everyone loves the passive codependent. They're the ones that have funerals that have like miles and miles of people standing in line because they're just wonderful people. So we think. But are you really wonderful if you live your whole life and you've never experienced self-love? And then you have the active codependent, the one who's manipulative, the one who's controlling, the one who can engage in power and control struggles, the one who will argue, the one who will get into fights, the one that will take someone's cell phone and look at their cell phone records and put software on their husband or their wife's computer to catch them in their affairs, who's always measuring the alcohol or always trying to catch them. And they also could be the ones that have an affair because they want to punish the husband who's always having an affair. So they're not narcissistic. They're just very controlling. So if we look at the definition, what makes the active codependent and the passive codependent the same is they're in relationships with narcissists and they give all the LRC, they don't get any and they stay. One is just very aggressive and sometimes not very nice, and one is the salt of the earth. So now we have this understanding that if you know someone or you are that way, you still can be a pain in the ass and not be this wonderful, lovable person and be codependent. That helped so many people come to terms with this disorder that they were thinking that they were narcissistic. And then I had to come to terms with this other phenomenon, and this happened when I was I had a client who was a psychotherapist, and she had this life story of falling in love with these really horribly abusive, neglectful, manipulative men, and she says, you know, I'm not codependent anymore. I have not been in a relationship for 5 or 6 years. I have not had any intimate relations with a man, and it wasn't because of a spiritual religious belief. And she goes, I don't think I'm a codependent. What she had done was to control this out-of-control phenomenon, she turned it off. I call that Codependency Anorexia or SLD anorexia. She hit her bottom, and the pain and the suffering was so bad, she didn't know about the human magnet syndrome. She just knew that every man that she ever fell in love with, she was a magnet for disaster. It's a survival and protective mechanism that allows this SLD, someone with self-love deficit disorder or self-love deficient, to not suffer anymore from these relationships. But what it does is it disassociates them from the very human experience of intimacy. Emotional, relational, and physical intimacy. And the more that I talk about it, the more I find that there's a lot more people who fit this category, who just say, I'm done, I'm fine, and they pretend that everything is well, but it's not. Because this type of anorexia, this type of starving, will cause mental health problems. Because we humans, we are designed, we have evolved, we have become who we are because we need love and connection. And when you deprive ourselves from it, it hurts us. So in my process of sorting through this codependency thing, and by the way, this stuff is not in the human magnet syndrome, this version. I came up with this other idea, is that personality is not connected to narcissism or SLDD, or codependency. How many here know of a sociopath that, or a covert narcissist that can be really sweet on the outside and a total beep? I don't know what the rating level here for, so I'm going to keep it at rated G and PG for now. Then I might lose control and swear a little bit. But just a total jerk on the inside. We call those covert narcissists or sociopaths. But everyone sees them as sweet. How many people know codependents who are kind of angry and manipulative and always kind of lying and trying to get everyone to give them what they want, but they come from this background where, I mean, their background made their personality. They lie and manipulate, but yet they're codependent. So personality type is not connected to either SLDD or codependency or narcissism. A codependent and a narcissist can be selfish. A codependent and a narcissist can be shy. They're independent variables. Codependent and narcissist can be gregarious. A codependent and narcissist can be an addict. A codependent and narcissist can be lie. So let's get rid of this idea that these codependents are just by nature of all their sacrifice are these wonderful people. Some of us also have issues that we need to talk about. And that is why, and I've been saying this forever, I am so proud of my work in the development of codependency, narcissism, and SLDD, but it is not an all-inclusive theory. It doesn't explain everything. Everything else and about mental health, mental illness, psychological background, that all gets fit in. I am not one of these people who say, just read my book and it'll be the last book that you ever read. And buy 10 of them, and they're on sale. Get, buy 2, get 3, whatever. Actually, that would be bad business. But no, I am here to talk about one element of mental health that has to do with why we fall in love with narcissists. And it's not as simple as you think. If you want to have this large explanation, I'm offering you a simple explanation that is a little bit more deep than most people talk about. The most asked question I have, and I promise you at least 5 of you want to ask this question: can a codependent be a narcissist? No, it's not possible. And I explained this in my book, The Human Magnet Syndrome. It's just not possible. And I have a video on it on my YouTube channel. If you just go YouTube, if you Google YouTube and Ross Rosenberg, you'll get to it. They just can't be. The reason some codependents feel like they're narcissists is because they're gaslit. I have a whole 6-hour, I have trainings on almost everything I talk about, and they're for professionals and for the general population. And so there's a lot of things that I can't talk about today because we'd be here for 20 hours. But the whole phenomenon in gaslighting is huge in the understanding of codependency and narcissism. But if you have been gaslighted to think that whenever you ask for something, you're selfish, or when you want someone to do something for yourself, you're needy, or and someone tells you you're narcissist, that you start to believe it. So it's not possible. And by the way, more often than not, when someone asks me, I think I'm a narcissist, it's almost evidence that they're not. Because how many here know a narcissist? Have any of these narcissists ever said to you, I think I'm a narcissist? No. Have any of them said, I think you're a narcissist? Yeah.